News so far today, though, is Man United have got the deal complete to bring in Amrabat. It's going to be a season-long loan with, I think, an obligation to buy next summer. But they get it over the line. We know the execution has been painful for Man United fans who wanted him in weeks ago. But how good a purchase do you think this is for Man United in terms of improving that midfield?
First of all, I'm glad you chose this topic first, so me and you can fight at the start, and then we can get this over with. I think with Amrabat, first of all, I don't know if the reports were true yesterday about that 1 million initial loan fee. I mean, 10 million makes a difference to Fiorentina, of course, because we need to understand not all clubs are like Premier League clubs with plenty of cash laying around. So that money makes a difference to Fiorentina. Look, Amrabat is a good signing. I would have taken him at Liverpool 100%. I just don't think... I think we probably got the signings mixed up in terms of who makes sense for which club more. I think Gravenberch probably makes more sense for Man United. Amrabat makes more sense for us. Maybe now you'll say depth and stuff like that, which is fair. But in terms of a starting role, I think we needed a 6 more. You guys probably needed an 8 more. Here's the thing. I think with Amrabat, it's a good signing. I don't think it moves the needle or it makes Man United that much better. I think kind of similar problems are still there, to be honest with you. So, okay, congratulations, but he did not reject Liverpool, Terry. We need to stop saying that Amrabat rejected Liverpool because we never bid. We never bid for the guy. We just were looking at him as we were looking at 15 other midfielders.
So, question for you. So
yes.
You will stop Liverpool fans pushing the notion that Gravenberch rejected us because we didn't bid.
No, but that's not the same.
So we didn't bid for Gravenberch, but he rejected us. You didn't bid for Amrabat, even though you were interested, but that's not rejection. Why is it different?
Yeah, but I don't think we ever took the Amrabat thing seriously.
But
I'm being serious. With Gravenberch, he was supported by Ornstein.
But Ornstein also said that Man United are pushing for Amrabat rather than Gravenberch. So we didn't say Gravenberch. This is my point, right? I don't care if people want to say that Gravenberch rejected us. But if that's the rejection, then you have to take the L's on the Lavia and the Caicedo thing as full-on rejections, and you have to accept Amrabat. It's the same thing. That's all I'm saying, bro. I don't care either way. Someone actually, a Liverpool fan called me out on Twitter today saying, well, why are you saying that he rejected us when you said things were different? I said, I think it's all different. But I'm happy to accept it either way. What I can't accept is people talking out of both sides of their mouths. But that aside, look, on Amrabat,
he speaks Dutch, that's why.
He speaks Dutch. Why do you not think it improves Man United that much? Delve into that for me.
The reason why I don't think it improves Man United this much is the starting midfield is probably still going to be Casemiro, Bruno, and Mount. This is the thing. So for me, I don't see a world in which Bruno goes to the bench. I don't see a world in which Mount goes to the bench, or he would have stayed at Chelsea. I don't see a world in which Casemiro goes to the bench. Now, Casemiro maybe is a little bit more likely. I see Staffy and others having meltdowns over the whole Casemiro situation. Oh, Casemiro, scrap bench him. I think it's Casemiro's problem is not Casemiro himself. Casemiro's problem is Bruno and Mount are so, I think there's a massive distance between them. It's not a compact enough midfield. So with Amrabat, if you want to start him as the 6, it means Casemiro is going to go to the bench. If you want to start him as the 8, then your team's a lot more defensively stable. So that could be a positive. But offensively, it takes away from you. And you've got to bench Mount, which would cause drama. Because Mount's brother is going to start posting on Instagram. Why is Mount on the bench? And here we go again. So it's going to be a dramatic situation. I think he's good for depth for Manchester United. I don't necessarily think he starts unless there's an injury or a Casemiro red card. That's when he'll start. And if you start the midfield of Amrabat, Mount, and Bruno, then maybe from a legs perspective, it makes a bit more sense. And Amrabat, you could say, is slightly better on the ball than Casemiro is. But I still don't think you've really solved your issues fully this transfer window.
We haven't solved all of our issues. We could do with another striker. We could do with, in my opinion, a new right back. We could have done with a new centre back. So yeah, Man United haven't completed their rebuild yet. That's fair, absolutely fair. And it takes most teams 2 or 3 summers to do that when it's going to be a complete overhaul. There's only one team I've ever seen out of the top 6 clubs who have done it in the space of 2 summers, and that's Chelsea. But people will still say they've got holes, and they've bought literally, I don't even know, what, 25 players maybe they've purchased in the last year.
1 billion. Mad.
Yeah, and so we're always still going to have holes in this team. But in terms of our midfield, I think Amrabat does move that needle. The notion that and I've seen what you've said, I've seen from a lot of people. Yeah, but he don't start, does he? How does anybody know? We've had this conversation before. Your best Liverpool team in the Klopp era, we could all name the 11. But they went for an 18-month period where they only started 4 or 5 games together. There is going to be rotation. There is going to be... Listen, as long as we don't go out early in the League Cup, we are going to be playing 2 games from the international break onwards. It's going to be 2 games per week. I want Man United to try and win every single competition they're in. And he's got the opportunity to make himself a first-team player. So, yes, you could be right. From day one, he may be looked at as a first-team member, an important member, but back up to the current starting midfielders. But that doesn't mean that he can't perform and work his way into the team. One thing that...
But if everyone's fit, who's the starting 3 then?
So this is the point I'm making. Yeah, right now, I'm happy to concede you're right. I think if everybody's fit, he probably starts on the bench. However, that doesn't mean that he can't work himself into the first team. That doesn't mean that he can't perform to a particular level. We saw it with AWB. He was out in the cold. And then he comes back in from January last year. And look, I still think we need better than him long term, but he came in, performed well, and managed to stake a claim in terms of his position. If Amrabat comes on in League Cup games, comes on as a substitute, comes in when there's an injury and plays well, he can work himself into this first team and become a starter. I don't believe this narrative that because we've just bought Mount, whether he plays good, bad, or indifferent, he won't be dropped. If he keeps dropping stinkers, the manager will put him on the bench. He isn't going to, in my opinion, be arrogant enough to go, I'm going to keep playing a player who is failing. Otherwise, he'd keep... Last season, he'd have carried on playing Sancho. He'd have carried on playing Donny van der Beek. He'd persist with Martial. Everyone who's underperformed has been dropped. At times, not always. Sometimes you get another opportunity or 2 on the bounce, which I think is fair. But generally speaking, I just don't see the manager saying, yeah, because I bought Mount, he has to start over Amrabat at all costs because he was more expensive. I just don't think it will work that way personally.
But you believe in football politics. You know that he can't just send Mount to the bench.
I think it exists, but it isn't something I think Man United fans should stress themselves about. Someone here says Anthony. Well, yeah, but Anthony has been dropped before. Let's not get it twisted. There are multiple games where Anthony has started on the bench. However, the problem you have with the Anthony situation is, especially from rivals, is you're looking... It's ironic, really, because whenever you praise somebody's stats, people say football isn't just about statistics. And then you speak about someone like Anthony, who in terms of everything he does, barring the most important thing, and I criticize him for not scoring and assisting as much, he needs to do that more. There are other elements of his game that he does better than Jadon Sancho that plays in his position in terms of keeping shape, tracking back, helping us defensively. It's why we had the most clean sheets last year, and he was important. Now, that doesn't mean, by the way...
Where are your standards, Terry? There's no way you're doing Anthony prop.
No. It's not about Anthony prop. It's about... So why did Anthony get dropped? Because the alternative coming in instead of him is in Jadon Sancho, scores and assists less than him, and isn't as good off the ball. So I'm not saying he shouldn't be, but you have to look at the circumstances. You're taking out someone that's playing trash and putting out somebody in who's also trash, but does less defensive work. At the very least, you want to keep your shape and be defensively as solid as possible, right? So if there was someone on the bench that would do the shape, be defensive, and score and assist more, then I'd be screaming for him to be dropped. But it's about the alternatives. It's about the alternatives.
I agree with you there. I don't think there's options off the bench to bring on for Anthony. But Anthony is like not performing, and Anthony is not playing to the level. Neither is Sancho. So I don't think, but I understand also maybe from certain fans' perspective, they're like, you know what? Since Anthony stank up the pitch first 3 games, let's give it Sancho for a game, see what happens. But I agree with you. They're both not good. I agree completely. There's no need to disagree.
The point I'm making is the reason Anthony doesn't get dropped as regularly as I would like him to is because Sancho's worse than him, performs worse than him more consistently.
You don't have options, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But in the middle, I think if Mount's playing badly, if Casemiro's playing badly, he will give Amrabat a go because I think Amrabat is a top player. He's pressure resistant. He barely loses the ball. Got good duel rate succession. Excellent at reading the game, winning the ball back. He's got a decent turn of pace. He's actually quite agile as well when you watch. For someone who's 6'1", he's very agile as well. Very, very good on the turn. And Fans are going to see that a lot from him. He's the kind of player that can receive the ball with his back facing his own goal as an example. He can be pressed and he can just drop off the shoulder and turn and sprint with the ball. And we need someone that can progress it like that from a central midfield area. Eriksen's got the ability to do the turn, but doesn't have the power or athleticism to get away from people and we get caught. The same as Mount when he's in those deeper positions. So Amrabat's going to be a game changer for us. And I do believe he can work himself into that first team over the course of this season on a more regular basis. I'm really happy with all our business, barring Mount. Massive question marks on him. We've signed an excellent goalkeeper. We've signed a brilliant young attacker in Rasmus Højlund, who I think has got levels in his game.
Also question marks.
Well, there's no question marks. He's just young. It's like whether you, again, if he'd have scored an extra 5, 6, 7 goals, there'd still be question marks. But I have faith in him. Having researched him, watched him, read about him, I think Rasmus Højlund's got star quality in him. The same as you signed Gakpo and you signed Darwin Núñez, very young, lots of money. And yes, but neither of them were amazing last season, but we know there's great potential in there. And we saw that from Darwin at the weekend. I think Rasmus Højlund's got the ability to be a star. The only signing that we have who I'm genuinely concerned about has been Mason Mount. Now, would I have liked more signings this summer? Yes, but we've seen it's not on the manager, in my personal opinion, all of it. You could argue we shouldn't have bought Mount and we could have bought somebody else with that money. So that's a fair criticism. But the fact that we have barely allowed there to be money released to get Amrabat tells you like we're being hamstrung. The manager's got a budget and it's limited. And the fact he needed a new goalkeeper and he needed a new striker has kind of limited that. So yeah, I'm happy with Man United's business as much as I can be, if that makes sense. And I would have liked.
Here's the thing. I don't even disagree with anything you've said about Amrabat from a skills perspective. I just disagree with your conclusion. I have a different conclusion I'm getting to. I don't think, I'm going to be honest with you, I just don't think Ten Hag has the cojones to drop one of them. What I think is going to happen, this genuine prediction. No, I'm being genuine. And this is something that now when I say it, you would actually go like, you know what, this like Hussam is actually a genius. I think he's going to drop Anthony because the right-wing options are both mid, as you said. So there's no need to argue Anthony versus Sancho. I think he'll play Bruno on the right. He'll play Mount, Amrabat, and Casemiro as the midfield. I genuinely see a world in which that happens, or just put Mount on the right instead of Bruno. That's another way I see it. So I think that could be a thing that they do going forward. And the conclusion that you've arrived to, I don't think. Look, you're talking about it in terms of depth, which I agree with. Once again, I agreed with you completely. When's Mount back, by the way? He's injured, right?
5-6 weeks. So again, this is what I was about to say to you. So for the next, we're not even going to get an answer to your point for at least 2 months because he's going to take him about So 6 weeks. Then he's got to get match fit Mason Mount. So there's going to be a period of 2. We're not even going to start getting answers to this now until like end of October, November time. Yeah. But when I listen, it's easier to do this with you than it is Lee Gunner because you actually understand. I'm not trying to catch you out. I'm actually trying to be fair. When you say dropped, define that for me, because what I wouldn't do is go
Anthony,
right.
You mean?
No. So when you say he won't drop any of the midfield 3 is in Mount and Casemiro, Bruno. By the way, he's not going to drop Bruno for Amrabat because he plays a different role. But so Mount or Casemiro. Say we play a Premier League game. Say like 3 games on the bounce, Mount and Casemiro started together. And on the 4th game, Premier League game, Mount's on the bench and Amrabat starts. For a game, I wouldn't consider that dropping someone.
No, that's not dropped for a game. No, for a game, it's not dropped.
What do you consider dropping to be? Just so that when I hold you to account for being wrong, I want it to be fair.
No, dropped is like consistently being out of the team. If I want to use my club as an example, I think last season Núñez was dropped because he was significantly out of the team, significantly on the bench. Like let's use the first three games as an example. Núñez was dropped in the first 3 games, and he came on as a sub first 3 games. So you wouldn't consider him as a starter or someone who starts for Liverpool Football Club. So if you're telling me like what would I consider dropped, I'd say at least 3-4 games in a row. I'm not talking about a 1 game sample size here. No, and I think from depth perspective, he's great.